New Thought Media Network and the Universal Joy Center are proud to bring you The Joy Show. One voice, one story, infinite inspiration. Join your host, Barbara Jean, every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time or 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Tune in live or watch anytime on youtube.com/@UJOYC. The Joy Show with Barbara Jean. The perfect way to get inspired on Friday afternoons. Only on New Thought Media Network. And please like, share, and subscribe. And now, let's join Barbara Jean on The Joy Show.
Well, good afternoon or good evening, depending where you are in the world. I'm Barbara Jean. I'm the host of The Joy Show, and joy is an acronym for just one you, and that is the focus of this show. But let us get started with land acknowledgement. In the spirit of reconciliation and peace, we are grateful for the opportunity to meet on these sacred lands. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. We recognize our oneness, we realize our history, and we choose to create a new reality. We are one. Miigwech. Well, the Joy Show. Well, today's show is not about fixing yourself. It's about discovering that nothing essential in you was ever broken. So why share this topic? Well, obviously it matters, right? This matters personally because your work, your spiritual path, or what you witness in people. So healing is not creating something new. Healing is uncovering what has always been true. So it takes us back to the beginning. Joy, just one you, nothing to add, nothing to become. You are who you are and who you are meant to be. So it's perfect. Now, the core truth at the center of you is wholeness. And the key points are that there is a perfect life principle at the core of every person. Like we talk about, there's only one power in the universe, one infinite creative intelligence, and it's everywhere present equally. So that means it is being you, not separate from, not different than, not above or below, but it's being you. So spiritual healing recognizes what is already present. It's like it takes us back to the beginning when we were born. And when we were born, we were perfect, whole, and complete. These perfect beings. And then the people around us started adding and detracting and teaching and doing all kinds of stuff. And we learned a bunch of things that may or may not be true for us. So when we talk about healing, we're talking about revealing. And what I want to talk to you about today is practitioners. Practitioners are with the Centers for Spiritual Living. The practitioners are the ones that do this healing work with people. We do spiritual mind treatment. And our role is not to change anyone or anything, but rather to uncover whatever it is that needs to be revealed. See, if we go back to the beginning, we're all perfect, whole, and complete when we enter. Then we forget because well-meaning people have said, well, try this or do that, or I don't like it when you do this, or stop doing that, or no, no, no. Anybody hear lots of no's when you were little? Yeah. So what we want to do is uncover the real essence of us, the true self, and begin to live from there. So we don't manufacture it. We're not trying to make ourselves different. We're trying to accept who we are. Yeah, we're trying to accept who we are. So healing is not installing health. It is revealing it. And we know it can be because we know we've healed of certain things. Like if you've ever had a cold and you got over it. Well, if you got over that cold, it was healed, correct? It was, yeah. So anything that's going on for us, health is our natural state of being, so it will always be there. And we might have a mask over top of it that says flu or cold or whatever. but it's simply a mask over top of the truth. And we can reveal that truth. I wanted to share a story. Just, when you look at a bright lamp in the center of a room and someone drapes a cloth over it, something really thick, the room goes dark. Did the light go out? It was just covered. It was just covered. It didn't go out. It was covered. And because it was covered, it could no longer illuminate the room around it. Right? So the light did not go out. It was covered. And that's the same thing with each one of us. We're not healing our broken self. We're revealing our divine wholeness. That's what we're doing. So healing is removing the coverings of fear, belief, trauma, conditioning, so that we can let the light shine again. So your light doesn't need to be repaired. It just needs to be revealed. Yes, simple, right? Well, it sounds simple, but it's not the easiest thing to do, that's for darn sure. So when we take a look at the different things that are going on for us and the way we're living our lives currently, we're living a lot from past ideas or past reasoning or beliefs that we were given by very well-meaning people. And we're wondering why life isn't really working for us in the way we had hoped it would. So how do we begin to shift that? We can do spiritual mind treatment, we can do affirmations, we can do denial, we can deny the power of whatever this thing is that's going on. We can recognize that there is, different paths work for different people in different ways. So we can learn a way that works for us. So the method matters less than the realization. So when you realize who you are, when you start to work with the ideas, pardon me, of affirmations and denial and treatment, what you're doing is you're basically sending a message to yourself saying, I am ready. I am ready to live in a new way. I am ready to find my true essence. I'm willing to live from that. I'm confident it will be good and great. And so we change it because we know the method is not sacred. The awakening is. It's time for us to wake up, however we do it. So, I remember somebody telling me once that when they were little and, their parents wanted them to learn how to swim, the father just threw them into a pool. Well, that's one way, I suppose. I didn't think that was probably the best way, but in the case that I'm talking about, the person did swim and they did live, but they were also traumatized. So I'm not sure that that's the best, but we learn to swim by lessons. People show us how to do it and we learn. Some people just jump in and figure it out. And some need flotation devices first. I need my life jacket. I need my little wings on my arms so I make sure that I'm going to be okay. Now, all of them will get you to where you're going. So the method really does not matter at all. What does matter is that we learn. We learn from the experiences that we've had. And the water itself doesn't care how we learned, only that you trust it. So when we're looking at our spiritual practice, when we're looking at the idea of healing, and we're going to a practitioner to have treatment done so that we can, have some new experience in our lives, we're not treating from a place of brokenness. We're treating from the result that we are after. So when we do treatment, we're talking about what the person wants. And if you're treating for yourself, what is it that I really want? And then the second question that I always ask people is, how would you feel emotionally if you had it? How would you feel emotionally if you had it? And here's the thing about the emotions. We can tap into immediately. easily. So if we think we're going to be more joyful because we have a job, then we treat that my work is satisfying and rewarding, it is powerful and fulfilling, and I'm deeply grateful for it. And as a result, I feel a great sense of relief and joy and excitement about moving forward. So we create something that speaks about it as though it were already done. We speak about it, in the first person in the present tense because we want to affirm what it is we say we truly desire. We don't want to put out a message that, well, hopefully one day, maybe if I'm good enough, it'll show up. That's how we've been living up to now, maybe some of us. Now it's time to go, wait a minute, I'm one with the divine. The divine is being me. Why not tap that resource? So we tie in our spiritual practice through meditation, maybe therapy, that's not a bad idea sometimes, prayer, or what we call spiritual mind treatment, and conversation. Talking about things that bother us, talking about things that are upsetting or difficult is really important to our well-being. Community as well. We need a community. And then we get those insights. We're somewhere doing something, we get some insights as to what is next for us to do. And so when we're meeting with a practitioner, we're telling them what we want and how we'd feel if we had it. And then that person is going to do a treatment for us. Now, when a practitioner is treating, now you heard me treat in the first person, right? I am health, I am well-being, I am one with this divine presence, right? That's how we do it. And if I'm doing that, I am making sure that I'm clearing my mind of all negativity. So if I'm treating for you, or for myself for that matter, I want to clear out all the things that say, no, it can't happen. No, that's impossible. Not likely. Who do you think you are? That's selfish. All of that stuff needs to be erased completely. And what we do is we stand instead in the idea that I am one with this infinite creator. And because I'm one with the creator, I'm one with life. And I'm powerful, and I'm creative, and I'm intelligent. And I'm willing to live in a really big and broad way. I'm willing to stand out in a crowd. I'm willing to be all that I was created to be. So we begin to tell a story. Now, we might sit back and go, well, but that story hasn't happened yet. Well, that's okay, because the minute we believe it, it will happen. It will happen without a doubt, as soon as we believe it. Okay? So there's those moments that allow us to uncover a new idea. And I remember many years ago, I had a spiritual epiphany when I was 27 years old. And in that moment, I knew God as love. It was so clear. I could feel it in every cell of my body and every cell of my being. And I was in a fundamentalist Christian church, the Nazarene church. And I stayed there for about a year and a half. I was just trying to get more information about this experience I was having. But here's the interesting thing about that. I had that revelation on a Sunday night. The following Saturday, I had the realization that if I continued to be a smoker, that I would be hauling around an oxygen tank by 40. Like, I was really clear about that. And in that moment, I decided to quit smoking. So I finish off the pack I had because, I couldn't throw them away. They were a whole $2.10 a pack back then. Now I think they're like $20 a pack. I don't know. They're expensive anyway. But I'm looking at this going, I can't keep doing this. And the gentleman I was married to at the time turned around the next morning when I told him I quit. He ran out and bought me a pack of cigarettes because I tried to quit a few weeks earlier and I became just this massive, nasty person. And so I finished that pack and I said, do not buy me anymore. And the next morning at work at coffee, I'm having a cigarette with one of my friends. And I looked at her when I butted it out and I said, that's the last cigarette you'll ever see me smoke. Until the next one. Well, here's the thing. Not only did I never have a next one, I never had a craving. Never. There was never a moment where I thought, oh, I could really use a cigarette right now. There was never a moment when I even thought about cigarettes. It was like I'd always been a non-smoker. It was very, very miraculous in my mind. And at the time, I believed that God healed me. What I didn't realize was I healed me because the universe is being me. So I healed me by creating a whole new thought, one that was so powerful, it actually undid all of the usual trappings around quitting something like smoking cigarettes. And we could call it miraculous or we could call it clarity. And I think clarity is more accurate. So while we're journeying along, sometimes we are uncovering, and I think we're uncovering a diamond, really. You know, we're like that diamond in the rough. Um, when you go down to this idea that I am sufficient, when you get to that place of going, the life that I've lived has brought me to now, and now is a pretty great place. So I'm going to do what I can here. When we begin to do that, we start to realize our potential, our value, our worth, and we start to see that we really are that diamond, that we really are this rare, precious element. And we're sticking with that, right? We're uncovering what was always there. It was never somewhere else. It was never withheld from us. It was always there. So the treasure is already present. You are you, and you have been created to do something in this lifetime that serves all of humanity. I believe that. The garbage that would be covering that diamond, that perfection, is false belief and fear and self judgment. And none of those things have power unless we give it power. That's the only time it does. And spiritual work is about removing all of that stuff that is blocking us from realizing our own divine perfection. So we're really having to look at ourselves in a new way, because the truth is nothing real can be damaged. Nothing real can be damaged. So the essence of us, which is the real us, the part that is one with the universe, that part of us has never been touched by anything. Doesn't matter what negative experience I had. The essence of me is still perfect, whole, and complete. I might not feel that way. The truth, that is the truth, that I am in fact perfect, whole, and complete. So the idea that, you know, we're broken or flawed or that we're not enough, these were ideas that were given to us by well-meaning people who were trying to control or manipulate the way we behaved or how we showed up. They wanted us to be different so they could feel safe. You know, what little kid hasn't said something really embarrassing around their parents? Mama, didn't you say that Auntie Joan was like this really ugly, awful person? Oops. What are the things that we're covering up? What are the things we're not talking about? What are the things that we're holding back because we're afraid of them, when the essence of us has never been touched? It's never been touched by any of that. You're not becoming whole. You are remembering that you already are perfect, whole, and complete. You've always been that. You've never been anything else. Perfect, whole, and complete. So, let's say, someone reaches for their glasses, in the drawer, the counter, purse, getting more and more frantic, only to discover that they've been with them the whole time, right? How many of us have done that? I know I have. Where I'll have, usually for me, I don't usually put them on my head. I usually drape them in the front of my shirt. And then I'm busy looking around because I need to read something and I can't find my glasses. I mean, have we not done that before, some of us? Or other things that we've needed that we've kind of set aside and we go, now, where is it? I've lost it. It's a little embarrassing when you're going, I can't find my glasses. And somebody goes, they're right there. And you're like, oh man. But instead of feeling embarrassment, it's about just being grateful. You now have them and move on from there. We don't have to be embarrassed. We don't have to feel anything about that. We can go, whoa, thank goodness, and have a chuckle and move on, right? So healing often happens. It often feels like that moment, discovering what you needed never left you. That, you know, the glasses that you need were already there on your face. They were already there hanging on your shirt or sitting on your head, but they were already present. I've looked for my glasses occasionally when they've been on my face. You would think think that I could see them, but actually I'm looking through them and not actually seeing them in the same way. So it's really important that as we move through life and as we ask all these different questions, that we take the time to really integrate what it is that we're learning. We want to make sure that we're not just putting in time here, we're actually living to our full potential. And if we are, or even if we're not, we can always go to a practitioner for support. Talk to that person. They do charge a fee. Usually it's not very much, but they do charge a fee for their service, like most people do. And their service can help you to reveal a whole new way of being, a whole new life for yourself. So we just want to pay attention to the things that are going on and realize that healing is not a time of, oh, I got to be a different person. No, it's I got to be me. That's what healing is. It's actually revealing. So I don't know how many of you have had moments of great difficulty, but I've been married a few times, and a couple of those times were really, really difficult, really hard, because the men were angry, violent, and I ended up on the wrong end of all that. But here's the thing, that when I walked away from that second bad marriage, it was it was challenging to move on. And I started reading a book by Louise Hay called You Can Heal Your Life. And I thought, wow, I could really use that. And I started to read it, but not only read it, but practice what she was saying. So here I was feeling broken, lost, feeling less than, struggling to figure out now what, all the questions that come up when you end a relationship. But I got real clear about one thing and only one thing, and that changed the game for me. I got clear that I put myself in the room. Okay. I'm not to blame for what he did. I'm not to blame for his behavior. And I'm not letting him off the hook. But I came to realize that I was responsible for putting myself in the room. And when I recognized there was a problem, I stayed in the room. Okay. So I chose this person. And when I saw those red flags flying, instead of listening to them, I ignored them. And I stayed in the relationship. And a lot of it was, oh, so I'm the problem, so I better work on me and fix that. Because if I was just better, then he would be better. And that went on for a while. But when I ended the marriage, that was the first time I stood up and went, no more. This will not happen to me again. Now, it almost did once. I was dating somebody that I'd known for, oh my gosh, I must have known him for a good 15 years. I thought I knew him. And one day I was in his office at work and I was chatting with another employee there, and he was on the phone. I guess it was making it hard for him to listen. So he yelled at us to shut the F up. And so we did. And we get out in the car because I had met him at work because we were going to go for lunch. And I get in the car with him and he starts screaming at me, who the F do you think you are? And I said, drive me home and forget my number. And that was the end of that. I thought, no more. I'm not being put back into that situation ever again. So we have an opportunity to pay attention to what we're doing and how we're doing it, but we have to accept that we are being responsible. So Rachel put into the chat, I need to start being clear that I have control over things and it's not just a one-person dynamic. Exactly. We have control. What we have control over is how we feel about any particular thing. How do we feel about life? How do we feel about the journey that we're on? How do we feel about the various moments in our life? Like, how do we feel about these things? And are they serving us? Are they serving us in the highest and best way? They may or may not be. Well, we're just at our halfway point here. So we're going to take a brief little commercial break, and then we'll be right back with more of The Joy Show. You're watching the New Thought Media Network here on, no, you're watching The Joy Show here on the New Thought Media Network. Be sure to stick around. We will be right back with more on The Joy.
Please help us say thank you to all of our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Center for Spiritual Living United Life, Sunshine Cathedral, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Universal Joy Center, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Home Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. On behalf of New Thought Media Network, thank you, and please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, come be you.
And we're back. Well, I was talking about, a challenge I had and how I took responsibility. Now, here's what happened, of course. Once I took responsibility for putting myself in the room by staying in the relationship, I realized that I have a choice and I could do it different. So I did. I changed it. I no longer needed to be a punching bag to anyone. It was like, no, that's not okay. I'm not living like that anymore. And so I was able to change what I chose. So I got rid of the guy who yelled at me because I thought, no, I don't need that in my life. And I ended up moving into another relationship. And I thought it was a pretty good one until one day I came home and he was fighting physically with my son, my eldest son. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not okay. We're done. You don't you don't get to touch my kids. And so we sometimes have to create boundaries that allow us to show up in a better way, show up more confidently and more willing to, speak truth to stupid, say what we actually mean. So it's really important that we do pay attention to what's going on and whether or not we're selling ourselves short. So for a moment about where in your life might wholeness already be present, just waiting for you to notice. So if you think of anything, slip it in the chat. I'd love to hear your responses. Where in life, where in your life might wholeness already be present, waiting to be noticed? So healing as a revelation. It's about opening up to a new idea. And practitioners are trained to work with us one-on-one. And when they are working with us, they go into their own self to know our innate perfection. And they treat until they have that full awareness and that full understanding, because they need to be in a position where they will turn around and see you as perfect, whole, and complete, not as somebody who is broken. So Rachel Allen put in the chat, would being grateful contribute to being whole or as one with your truth? And yeah, gratitude is a big way of showing that we're present, that we're in the moment, that we're acknowledging what's happening now. And so gratitude is huge. The, 15th century monk, maybe Meister Eckhart, he said, if gratitude was your only prayer, it would be enough. It would be sufficient. So living in a state of gratitude is incredibly powerful. So to be grateful for everything, be grateful for the bills that come in because they let you use a service prior to billing you. Like, how great is that? Or be grateful for the people in your life. Be grateful for your body, for your health, whatever it is, good, bad, or awful. You have a body and you're here for a reason. Just like all of us, we're here for a reason. So I invite you to really begin to explore who you are. And if you need support, talk to a practitioner. The Centers for Spiritual Living, you can go on to the main website and find someone. Hell, you can find someone right here on New Thought Media Network. We have daily prayers going on. We have lots of stuff going on here. So again, you can find a practitioner right here. There's a bunch of them doing shows, so you can get right in there and get the support that you need. The journey that we're on is to recognize that we're on a journey and it doesn't have a destination. It does not have a destination. And we're always looking for the end. And at the same time going, but I don't want to die. Well, that's the end of this incarnation. So if that's not what we're looking for, then what are we looking for? And are we ready to have it now? And then we begin to do treatment. We begin to look at what we're doing and how we're doing it. We look at what we believe about life, what areas of our life are hard, which ones feel comfortable. And then from there, we begin to construct something brand new. See, we don't have to stay in our struggle. That's absolutely not necessary. We don't need to stay there. We can let that go. And where does that struggle and suffering come from? Our thinking. Yeah, it's our thinking. See, somebody said something bad to us, when we were 5, and we've managed to bring that pain into our lives today. We remember the event. We feel the same emotions we felt at the time, maybe expanded even bigger. But the event didn't happen today. It happened 60 years ago. Why am I reliving it now? These are all choices. I know it doesn't feel that way. A memory pops up and a feeling gets attached to it. But what if the memory popped up and there was no attached feeling? What if we go, oh yeah, I remember that, but there's nothing more. We don't feel the pain of the past. We don't feel the disappointment or the shame or the upset. We don't feel any of that. We just remember that it actually occurred. And we go, wow, that was interesting. But we don't have to let it derail us. Rachel asked, can someone be whole while still feeling broken in some areas? Yes, because you are whole. You are perfect, whole, and complete. Now, your life might not be reflecting it at the moment, but that's the reflection. Doesn't change the truth of who you are. So you have to come back to that idea that I am perfect, whole, and complete. I'm not sure I believe it from my physical self, but I'm going to begin here. I am perfect, whole, and complete. See, revelation doesn't make you whole. It shows you that you always were. So there's nothing, you're welcome, Rachel. There's nothing you need to create. It's already there. It isn't something that you deserve if if you're good, if you don't go out to the bar on Saturday night, or, you don't have a one-night stand while you're out there. Well, okay, I'm a good person, so I get to. No, it's not about that. It's not withheld. It's not conditional. Every single one of us is perfect, whole, and complete. Every single one of us is a part of this divine oneness. Every one of us is one with God. Whether we like it, believe it or not, it is. And because it is, we can choose to listen to that, or we can choose to act out in different ways. We can choose to show up in a different way. We can choose to do something different. So healing is remembering. It's remembering who I really am. And recognizing that nothing essential can be lost. Nothing essential can be lost. The spiritual nature is changeless. Our physicality changes constantly. But our spiritual nature, that's changeless. And that's a good thing, because it is already perfect, whole, and complete. And the work that we're doing is merely to uncover it. And that's the work of the practitioner. A practitioner will sit and treat with you, and they're treating their own mind to know your divine perfection. Jones just put in the chat, sorry for the random question, but what role does awareness play in becoming a more loving person? Well, everything. It's when you're becoming a loving person, being aware that you are love is sort of key. So you can't give what you don't have. So if you want to really be a loving person, then you must begin with yourself. You must love you unconditionally. Yeah, I know. That can be tough, but that's what needs to happen. You need to love yourself unconditionally. And it's from that love that you're learning that every one of us has that. Every one of us has issues. Every one of us has ideas. Oh, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm this and that. None of that is true. None of that is true. Some people think they're better than everybody else. Well, that's not true either. None of that is true. Each one of us created perfect, whole, and complete. Each one of us essential to the unfolding of the universe right now. Something we do, something we say, something's going on that allows us to be seen for who we really are. And that's powerful. That is really powerful. So, as we're going through this conversation, sort of a one-sided conversation, isn't it? I'm doing all the talking. If you want to look at how to begin to make these changes, the first thing you can do is affirmations. You can begin by, just stating, I am enough. I am enough. I am perfect, whole, and complete. I am one with the divine. You can say these words and actually begin to think about them and feel them and start to realize, like, wow, this feels really good. It actually makes me feel kind of energized and excited about life. I kind of like that. I want to share with you a short little affirmation. The life within me is whole, radiant, and intact. Nothing can diminish what Spirit has created. I allow this truth to be revealed now. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Life within me is whole, radiant, and intact. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. We're journeying along and we can't always see what's there because it's hidden. I mean, right now we're in the middle of winter, and I don't know about where you are, but where I am, there's lots of snow. And it looks really like everything's dead. The trees are all brown. There's no leaves on them. There's snow everywhere, so you can't see any grass or any plants. It's just snow. So the earth kind of looks lifeless. But beneath the surface, seeds are intact, roots are alive, life is waiting. So spring doesn't create life, it reveals it. Healing is spiritual spring. Yeah. It's like springtime, moving into that idea that the spring is a here and now reality. We each have within us infinite potential. Infinite potential. And what are we doing with it? We're playing video games, or we're, sitting in front of the TV, watching the TV. Whatever we're choosing to do it consciously. Don't do it as an avoidance of something else, but do it consciously. Why am I doing this? Ask yourself that question and then answer it. Why am I doing this? And trust the immediate response that comes, because that's probably the right one. That's probably the right one. So all of us are merely here to be who we are and bring our special sort of something to the world right now. Are you ready to do that? Do any of you feel ready to begin to live from a place of real wholeness? To begin to see yourselves as strong and powerful, mighty, free? Begin to create a really powerful and excited life, regardless of outcomes, regardless of circumstance. Can I do this? Can I do this? Am I ready to do this? We've been taught that somehow we're less than, broken, flawed, that somehow we're not good enough. And I'm here to tell you that was all a lie. None of it was true. None of it was true. The truth is that when we're born, we come into an experience with adult people who may or may not know how the universe runs. They may or may not know what's coming next. They may not know, where things are for each and every one of us. So they're guessing. They're saying things that will make them more comfortable. So pay attention when somebody is telling you what you have to do. Take that have to with a grain of salt and just ask yourself, just go within yourself and ask, is this really what's best for me? Because if it doesn't feel like it is, then I can assure you it isn't. Okay? It isn't. If it doesn't feel like it's good for you, it isn't good for you. Okay? Makes sense? We're all happy. So healing is a revelation. It's got nothing to do with anything other than opening my mind up to see a new potential or a new possibility. It's about relaxing and allowing myself to really know who I am. And in knowing that, to begin to create harmony and love wherever I go, to create something really exciting. We all have the potential. What are we doing with it? What are we doing with it? Things to ponder. Things to ponder. Life is happening. It is. So where do we take this? Where do we take this idea of the healing is revealed? For me, I want to pay attention to my emotions. Never push them down. Always pay attention to them. Always listen to them. So if I'm feeling particularly anxious, I want to go into that anxiety. I want to be with that anxiety. And then from there, determine my course of action. So when I'm in this place, generally what will happen is I will forward it to a practitioner for them to put either in their meeting notes or to pray for that person when they come that week. So there's some kind of a preparation that has taken place beforehand. Plus she offers other classes that people can take as well, which is really, really good and really powerful. and I'm complete. Healing is a revelation. So when I had my spiritual epiphany, it was a revelation. There's no question. It's like I was walking out of this church that I'd been invited to an evening service by my mother-in-law. And I'm walking out of there, and it was like somebody had flipped a switch. That's how simple it was. Somebody flipped a switch. And I went from not knowing to knowing. What are my next steps? And I got a really clear message, which I chose to ignore. But it was a really clear message. And it was to go home. So that's what I did. I went home for a short time and then concluded my move shortly later. Here's the thing, though, is that each one of us, we're faced with numerous choices every day. To not choose is making a choice. And choosing, we're also making a choice. And when we look at the choices that we make and the way that we're doing things, we can begin to see why life looks the way it looks. And not to blame ourselves or shame ourselves or anything like that. It's not about that. It's about awareness. When I become aware of what I'm doing, when I become aware of who I am, I show up in the world differently. I show up in the world with a greater sense of possibility and opportunity. I show up with a sense of aliveness and celebration. So how are you showing up today? Are you in that really great place, or are you still trying to find your way? Are you feeling really satisfied with your life and your journey? Or are you struggling day by day? Either one is just the experience you're having. It's not good or bad or right or wrong. It just simply is. And the minute we can take our energy off of what's happening, we begin to free ourselves. We free ourselves to experience a greater possibility in our lives. And we all have the capacity for that. In Living the Science Mind, Ernest Holmes talks about this topic, healing is a revelation. And when we look at that idea that healing is a revelation, we start to see how he viewed life and the world. And that was different from many of us who are, struggling with whatever. We're not finding it easy to, really open ourselves up to new ideas. So it's important that we do that. It's important that we start to see the potential that we possess already. And when we look at the work that a practitioner does, the practitioner is going to see our perfection. Okay? They're going to see our perfection. They're going to treat for what it is they believe about us. And it's not that they're going to change us. They're not. But what they're going to do is reveal that sacred self within themselves, which then allows me to see it. So it's important to just get a sense of, where I am and what I'm doing and what's happening. And am I okay with just being with whatever's going on? Like, can I simply be with it and not get too caught up or too worried or whatever the case may be? Can I surrender into the moment? And surrender is not about giving up. It's about allowing ourselves to be in the flow of life, to be fully present in each moment so that we begin to create something really spectacular, something really beautiful. So now what? Where do we go from here? Well, I believe we have one more slide, and on that slide is, just some information that I wanted to share with you. Like, do you have a story you would like to share? If so, just send me an email, hello@barbarajean.ca. And just send me a brief email saying the description and why you or someone you know would be a great guest on the Joy Show. Yeah. Because sometimes I do them solo and sometimes I do them with guests. And it's great to have guests where we can turn around and I can ask them questions about their lives and their journey. And really what we're doing is we're celebrating each person's accomplishments as they begin to create a life that works really well for them, but a life that honors all life, which is definitely harder to do. It's easier to just love ourselves, sort of, for some of us. And then for others, it can be a bit difficult, but we want to pay attention. So I want to give you an exercise to do, and I want you to stand in front of your bathroom mirror and look yourself directly in your eyes. And as you're looking directly into your own eyes, I want you to say to yourself, I am enough. I am enough. There is nothing I need. There is nothing lacking in my life or in my experience. I have enough. I am enough. Doesn't that have a nice ring to it? Say that to yourself. Just put your hand on your heart and just say, I am enough. I am enough. That's where it all begins. That's where it all begins. We go within and we find that deep center and we ask for what we truly desire. We don't play small. We don't pretend. We don't take from somebody else. We know that within us is the potential to do really, really great, great things. So are you ready to do something great in your life and in your world? Are you ready? Let's hope so. I want to thank you for being here with me today. And I want to just remind you one more time that if you do have an interesting story and you'd like to be interviewed by me, please just send me a quick email at hello@barbarajean.ca and I will respond to you quickly. And we'll get together and do an interview of you on this program. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Very important that you do that part. And then if you're considering, donating or anything, go to www.ntmedia.org. ntmedia.org. This is a not-for-profit organization, and we're looking at bringing good news, good support, and good ideas to the masses. So I invite you to share your wealth there. And on that note, I just want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Like, share, and subscribe, please. And, leave a comment. Anyway, have a beautiful, beautiful week. I love you and bless you.